In this video, let's look at how you can simplify expressions with exponents. I'm going to assume that you know these rules of exponents, but if you don't yet, you can go to my other video on where I explain them all, and I'll leave a link for that video in the description, as well as where you can get these notes on my website. So here I'm just going to be applying those rules to simplify these expressions, and I'll skip around between different problems here. So let's do number 1 first. 2m squared times 2m cubed. I'm just going to multiply 2 times 2, which gives me 4. M squared times m cubed, I'm going to apply this rule. X to the a times x to the b equals x to the a plus b. So I will add my exponents here. 2 plus 3 is going to be 5. So it just means I have 2 m's being multiplied by each other and another 3 m's being multiplied by each other. So altogether I'd have 5 m's being multiplied by each other. That's the answer for number 1. Let's go to number 4 next. 4n squared times 2n to the negative 3. 4 times 2 is 8. N to the 4 times n to the negative 3. Again, I'm going to add my exponents. 4 plus negative 3 is 1. So it's just 8n to the power of 1, or just 8n. Next is number 9. 4a cubed b squared times 3a to the negative 4 b to the negative 3. 4 times 3 is 12. A to the 3 times a to the negative 4. I'll add these. 3 minus 4 is negative 1, so I get 12a to the negative 1. B squared times b to the negative 3. 2 minus 3 is going to give me negative 1, so I get b to the negative 1. So if I have a negative exponent, x to the negative a is 1 over x to the a. So instead of multiplying by a, what I'm actually doing is dividing by a, and I'm also dividing by b. So this will just equal 12 over a times b in the denominator. Next is 11. X squared to the power of 0. The rule says anything to the power of 0 is 1, as long as it's not 0 to the power of 0. So this is just going to be 1. Anything to the power of 0 is 1. Next we'll do 12. So 2x squared to the negative 4. That's going to be this rule here. The factors inside of parentheses all get raised to that exponent. So I'm going to do 2 to the negative 4. X squared to the negative 4. That's going to be this rule. An exponent being raised to another exponent means I'm going to multiply those exponents. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. So it's going to be x to the negative 8. And again, if I have a negative exponent, it's 1 over that value, but the exponent becomes positive. So this would equal 1 over 2 to the power of 4. And then x to the negative 8 goes into the denominator, but it becomes x to the 8. The last thing I could do is make 2 to the power of 4. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is 16. So it's 1 over 16 x to the power of 8. Now let's try number 14. 4a cubed all being raised to the power of 2. So again, every factor inside the parentheses gets raised to that exponent. That's that rule here. So 4 squared, that's just 16. A to the 3 to the power of 2. This is telling me I'm multiplying my exponents. So 3 times 2 is 6. That's going to be 16a to the power of 6. Let's skip down to number 19. 2x to the 4th times y to the negative 3, all raised to the negative 1. So using this rule, each of the factors inside gets raised to the power of a. So here, all the factors get raised to the negative 1. So it's going to be 2 to the negative 1. And then x to the 4th, I'm going to do 4 times negative 1. That's this rule, where I multiply the exponents. 4 times negative 1 is negative 4, so x to the negative 4. I'm going to do the same thing with the y to the negative 3. Negative 3 times negative 1 is 3, y to the power of 3. I have 2 factors with negative exponents, so they're going to go in the denominator. So this is going to be y cubed stays in the numerator over 2 to the 1, or just 2 in the denominator, and x to the 4th in the denominator. And that's the answer. All right, next is number 26. 2x to the fourth y to the negative 4, z to the negative 3, over 3x squared y to the negative 3, z to the 4. I'm just going to simplify my coefficients and the x's and the y's and the z's. So 2 over 3 can't simplify. That's just going to stay as 2 over 3. X to the 4 over x to the 2, that's going to be a division with the same base. So x to the a over x to the b equals x to the a minus b. I can subtract my exponents. So the top one is 4 minus 2 will end up becoming 2. So it's going to be x to the 2 in the numerator. Y is going to be to the negative 4 and to the negative 3 down here. So negative 4 minus negative 3. That's the same as negative 4 plus 3, which is negative 1. So that'll become y to the negative 1, and I'll change this in the next step. And then lastly, z to the negative 3 minus 4. Negative 3 minus 4 is negative 7. Z to the negative 7. So y and z have negative exponents. They're going to go down in the denominator. This is going to be 2x squared stays in the top. In the bottom I have 3. Y to the 1 or just y, and z to the 7th. So that's going to be that answer. I'll work through a few more problems from a slightly more advanced worksheet. So I'm not going to read this out, but what I would do here first is I see that there's a 3 in the top and bottom, so I'll cancel those out. And the numbers, I'd get 2 times 4, so that's going to be 8 in the top. I have x squared, so if I add 2 and 2, I would end up with 4. 8x to the 4th. Y to the 4th, 4 plus another 4 is going to be y to the 8th. And I'm going to divide by x to the negative 3, y to the 2. If you have a negative exponent in the denominator, it will go up above and become a positive exponent. So x to the negative 3 will not be here. It's going to be x to the positive 3 up above here. Lastly, I'm just going to combine anything that I can. So I still have 8 in the top. X to the 4 plus 3 is going to be x to the 7. And for my y's, I have 8 in the top, 2 in the bottom. That means that there's 6 more in the top than in the bottom. That's applying this rule here where I subtract my exponents. So 8 minus 2 is 6. So it's going to be 8 x to the 7th, y to the 6th. Next, we'll do number 10. This is 2m to the negative 4 over 2m to the negative 4 being raised to the power of 3. So on the top, we have 2m to the negative 4. And then the bottom, each factor here will be raised to the power of 3. So 2 cubed is going to be 8. M to the negative 4 raised to the power of 3 means by applying this rule, I'm going to multiply the exponents. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. So it's 8m to the negative 12 in the denominator. If you have negative exponents, one thing that I like to do is take that factor and just move it across the division bar and make it positive exponents. If it's in the top, it goes to the bottom. If it's in the bottom, it goes up to the top. So let's do that. I'm going to get 2, and then the m to the negative 12 will move up and become m to the 12 over 8. M to the negative 4 on the top goes down to become m to the 4. Now I'm just going to simplify. 2 over 8 is going to be 1 over 4. So this becomes 1. That becomes 4. So in the bottom, I'm just going to write a 4 here. M to the 12 over m to the 4. By applying this rule, I subtract my exponents. 12 minus 4 is 8. So I'm going to have m to the 8 over 4. Next, let's do number 20. So 2x cubed, z squared raised to the power of 3. Everything gets raised to the power of 3. I'm going to get 8. 2 cubed is 8. X to the 3. 3 times 3 is 9. X to the 9th. Z squared to the power of 3. 2 times 3 is going to be 6. So z to the power of 6 all over. I'm going to, let's see, I can do x to the power of 3 and then add negative 4 to 3. So x to the negative 1 is what that would simplify to. Y to the 4 z squared times z cubed. With this rule, I'm going to add 2 and 3. It's going to be z to the power of 5. So let's now simplify our anything with the coefficients. Well, there's nothing to simplify here. And then our x's and our y's and z's. Again, the coefficient just stays as 8 in the top. X to the 9 minus negative 1. With this rule, the x to the a minus b. 9 minus negative 1 is going to be x to the 10 in the top. The y to the 4 just stays in the bottom. Z to the 6 minus 5 is z to the 1, which stays in the top. So that's the answer for number 20. Now let's do number 21. So here I've got all of this raised to the negative 4. Let's deal with that first. So 2 to the negative 4, p to the negative 4, m to the negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 4 is going to be m to the 4th. Q to the 0, well, that's just 1. 1 to the negative 4 is still just 1. So I don't even need to worry about that. That just becomes a 1. I can kind of ignore it there. Then I've got that times 2m to the negative 1, p to the power of 3. In the bottom, we've got 2pq squared. What can I cancel out here? I see a 2 in the top here and a 2 in the bottom. So I'm just going to get rid of both of those. And then let's combine anything that we can on the top. So 2 to the negative 4, well, that's going to become 1 over 2 to the 4, which is going to be 1 over 16. So I'll have a 16 in the bottom. P to the negative 4 times p to the 3. Negative 4 plus 3 is p to the negative 1. M to the 4 times m to the negative 1. 4 minus 1 is m to the 3. And in the bottom, there's going to be a pq squared. So lastly, I see that p to the negative 1, that's going to become another p in the bottom. So this will be gone from there. I'm going to add another p here. And the only thing I can really simplify is to get, I'm going to write this up here. I've got m to the power of 3 on the top, 16p squared q squared. 16p squared q squared. And that would be number 21. If you want to try the rest of the problems from these worksheets, I'll leave a link for them in the description. There's also answers on the bottom of the worksheet so you can see if you got the problems right or not. And don't forget that there's a link for all of these notes for the rules of exponents as well. So you can download this and print it out and have it as your own notes. If this was helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe.